a way of being in conversation or to being in full awareness of the one power, that one presence, to live in a state of, I'm here, I'm, a part of this, and to recognize consciously that I am one with source, I'm one with spirit. See, when we recognize that oneness, that changes everything, because in that moment, we are in the sacred continuum. We are in that space. And so what we want to do or strive to do is to make sure that when we do our treatment, that what we set up in that treatment continues throughout the day, that we're not doing a treatment and then being gone. And so we have a quote today, which I particularly like, and you can read it along as I read it aloud. We cannot make affirmations for 15 minutes a day and spend the rest of our time denying the things which we have affirmed and affirming the thing which we have denied and obtain the results which we seek. So if we're doing a treatment for prosperity and then half an hour later, we open up our mailbox and there's a bill for something that, we don't currently have the money for, well, we might go, oh man, I'm so broke, I can't pay this. What am I going to do? We just undid whatever we had done in that treatment. And people wonder why, I'm doing my treatments and my life's not changing. Well, that's because your belief system has not yet changed. And so we need to treat more often, or find a way that when we create our treatments, that we sit back and go, what is my intention of this treatment? And if it's prosperity and wealth, then I need to think along those lines, not just for that few minutes in my treatment time, but all the way through. And when I catch myself using words like poor or broke, I interrupt it and go, no, that was not my treatment. That doesn't have power here. My treatment was prosperity. And so what I know is right now, in this now moment, I have everything I need. So there's nothing to worry about. See, we do treatment and then we go back to our worries. And when we go back to our worries, we've actually stepped out of that sacred continuum and we've put ourselves back into a place of limitation, fear, doubt, worry, all that kind of good stuff. So we want to make sure that when we are treating for something, like we're treating for health, my body is strong and mighty. My health is wonderful and perfect. I feel amazing. I have lots of energy and vitality. And then we stop our treatment and we go and lay down on the couch and tell our partner, oh, this sucks. I'm just in so much pain. I wish my health was better. Wishing is not going to get us there. We have to begin to reframe the thought process. Now, that doesn't mean to deny the current condition. All right, so let's get that straight. And let's understand what healing is. Because this is a healing teaching. So what is healing? Healing is not a cure. Okay, sometimes people think that healing and cure are the same thing. They're not. A cure, if I had cancer show up, and, I prayed about it and I did whatever I needed to do, and all of a sudden it was gone, that's a cure. It has been cured. It was cured through prayer. It was cured through treatment. It was cured through medication, whatever it was, but it was cured. That's a cure. Healing is, I look at my life from a new perspective. So if I'm diagnosed with cancer, for example, I accept that that's the truth of my being, but I know that it doesn't define me, that I am more than that. And so we begin to look at things in a different way. So when we're doing treatment, we are treating for a specific experience, but not in such a specific way that we can't manifest it. So, for example, if you were looking for a relationship and, your neighbor, Joan, has this great husband, so you think, and you're like, oh, I want that to be my husband. Can't do that. That's going to rebound on you and cause you a lot of hurt. But if instead you go, there is a love in my life that is warm and inviting, whatever the ideas are that you really desire in a relationship, to speak those into truth right where you are. And then from there, remind yourself moment by moment. When you get into that place of going, oh, I never meet anybody, interrupt that and go, I always meet the right people. I always meet the right person for me. I always am in that place. And so if we do that, we begin to change the narrative and we can create something really, really remarkable. So it is, is it possible to consciously practice treatment-like thoughts throughout the day? Can we do that rather than just first thing in the morning or last thing at night or at dinner time, pray over our meal, whatever? Like, can we make it a continuum? And what that means is that not that I'm sitting in prayer, for the entire day, but rather that my thoughts are in alignment with what I prayed about. So if I was praying for prosperity and wealth, anytime I had a doubt about that, I would interrupt it and go, you know what? That's not who I am. I am a divine idea in the mind of this one source, this one substance. And so from there, I stay in alignment. I erase the negativity and I move back into the possibility. And when we do that, that's when we begin to create more in harmony with everything that we truly desire. Our focus and concern in recognizing truth is to express it more clearly as individuals and to see it more clearly in the totality of life everywhere. That was Stephanie Sorensen. And no, it's not always easy. It's always the truth, but it's not always easy. So when we are practicing this, and I suggest that you practice it, if there's any area of your life you wish was a little stronger, a little brighter, a little more prosperous, whatever, just allow yourself to take time to write down what your life could look like. Get a sense of, I wake up in the morning feeling joyful. So that would be one of the things you write down is I'm joyful. And you might think, oh, it'd be great to have more income. My income increases moment by moment by my conscious awareness of the prosperity that I am. And so we begin again to change our affirmations, not to sit in fear, doubt, and worry, but rather to look at those things as thoughts producing. You see, all thought produces something. So the thoughts that we're thinking are so essential to the success of our lives, because we cannot accomplish what it is we say we want to accomplish if we continue to live in that state of fear. When we look at the story of Easter, the Easter story, Christ is risen, and what does that suggest to us? For me, it suggests that I'm more than my body. My body can die, but who I am, what makes me who I am, that is eternal. That continues. That to me is the resurrection. When I recognize that I'm more than this, I am resurrected to a higher truth, a better understanding of possibility. So when I look at my journey in my life, I have an opportunity to really reflect on how it's working. And if there's something in it that feels a little off kilter, all I need to do is adjust my thinking, bring myself back into that sacred continuum and allow myself to live there in harmony with this universe. So one of my favorite phrases is, it is what it is. And what that means to me is, it's already created. Here it is. Now I can't change what is. However, how I react or respond to what is will create the next series of events. Okay, does that make sense? When I sit with what is, knowing that it is what it is, and if I want something different, then I must look at how I'm responding or reacting to the current situation. And if I can react to it from a place of gratitude, okay, here I am, I've got a roof over my head, I got food in my belly, I got all these beautiful people around me. Okay, this is good. This is good. What do I want? Do I want something bigger, something more, something different? Then I must, in this moment, be grateful for what is and begin to look at what I'd like to create. And when I'm looking at what I want to create, what I want to do is affirm in the first person, present tense, and positive. Okay? Present, positive, personal. When I do that, so when I'm doing treatment, I'm doing a treatment that, suggests that all is well. All is well is another one of my favorite sayings, because if I say all is well and believe that, then I'm not in a state of worry. I'm not in fear. Okay, I'm really sitting in a place of clarity. So we want to make sure that when we're treating, we follow it up with something more. Ernest Holmes, the founder of our teaching, suggested the importance of treating twice a day. And the purpose is to aid in our conscious recognition and unification with spirit as all-knowing, all-powerful, ever-present. And then to allow this awareness to guide our thinking along a specific line of realization to the revelation of spirit only behind a particular condition. So what we teach in Science of Mind is that everything began first as an idea. Yeah. So when we look at those ideas and we know that there is something going on that, we don't fully understand where we're at, we can begin in treatment to ask for clarity. And all of a sudden, things start to line up for us a little bit better. There's a journey that we're on that is truly wild and wonderful. And with it, there are bumps in the road. Now, sometimes we call those bumps bad. But if we were to just simply go, oh, ride the wave, continue, what we would soon discover is that none of it defines us and none of it holds us back. The only thing that defines us is what we think about ourselves. The only thing that holds us back is an idea in mind. And those can change. So one of the phrases in this teaching is change your thinking, change your life. And that sounds like, I don't know, a little airy-fairy maybe, but it's truth. When we begin to live from a new vantage point, I remember years and years ago, and we're going back lots of years here, years ago, working at the Calgary Herald newspaper and really struggling. I was angry. I was, feeling victimized. I felt less than, low self-esteem, whatever was going on, lots of stuff going on for me. And I sat back one day and I thought, of course, after getting a review from my supervisor that said shape up or ship out. So I turned around, I started to change my thinking. And when I started to change my thinking, I began to look at my whole life. And I was looking at the way I dressed. I was looking at the way I spoke. I looked at the way that I felt about myself and the people around me. And I started to stretch. What was fascinating is that the transformation was very, very quick. I was taking, self-help courses, personal development courses, things like that. I hadn't yet found this teaching, but I was waking up to something new. And as a result, my life started to spiral in a brand new direction, one that was more uplifting and powerful. Now, it still took me a while to get to the place where I am now, but the truth is that that's where it started. That was the seed that started the process that got me moving in this direction. You see, the life that we're living is not predestined. The life that we're living is ours. And the choices that we make will determine where we end up or where we go or whatever happens for us. So we want to pay attention to the way that we're thinking. I was looking at this book by John Waterhouse called 5 Steps to Freedom. And there's a quote in here from Edgar Allan Poe that I just loved for today. And he wrote, "All are but parts of one stupendous whole, whose body nature is, and spirit the soul." I read a lot of Edgar Allan Poe when I was younger. I don't recall ever reading that quote, but when I read that this morning, I thought, yeah, that really speaks to it. When we start to recognize that I am the essence of the divine fully made manifest, rather than I'm Barbara Jean and this is my experience, what happens is I recognize my divinity. I recognize that aspect of me that's connected to source. And when I do that, I can live more fully from that awareness and understanding, which changes the entire trajectory of my life experience. See, when I wake up in the morning and do my spiritual mind treatment and start with, there is one power in the universe, one infinite creative intelligence, one divine energy of love and light. And when I allow myself to sit in that energy, to allow that to permeate into my awareness, to raise me up into a new way of being, my life begins to transform accordingly. Things change according to how I think, how I react, how I respond to life. And when I respond from that place of divinity, things tend to flow, things tend to relax, and there's a lot less worry and frustration. Dr. Holmes, when he talked about living in that realization of the revelation of spirit, he was not suggesting that our conscious awareness and adherence to truth be allocated to the official act of prayer or treatment, or that between our prayers, it matters less what we recognize as present and creative. He wrote in Creative Mind, another book, "We cannot make affirmations for 15 minutes a day and spend the rest of our time denying the things which we have affirmed," the quote we had in the beginning, "and affirming the thing which we have denied and obtain the results which we seek." When we move into fear, we have denied our treatment. When we move into worry, we have denied our treatment. And it's okay to do that, but what we want to do is recognize it when we do it, and then move back into that place of, all right, there's one power. There's only one power in the universe, and it's right here where I am. It is all knowing, it is all powerful, and it's ever present. And it's present as me, as you. And when we come to it from that place, from that understanding, we begin to see who we are more truthfully. And we begin to create a life. Doesn't mean there won't be bumps in the road. There will. But we will respond to them rather than react. That's the difference. So notice the places where you react. Notice the places that upset you. Notice the things that trigger you in some way or another. And then sit in that awareness and ask yourself, what do I need? Because the body or the mind, there's a need there that is not being met. And believe me, it's nobody else's job to meet it. It's yours. We must meet our own needs. It's my duty to respond to my needs and yours to respond to yours. And so it's really essential that we take the time to pay attention. Pay attention. We live, move, and have our being in a sacred continuum, an unbroken and inseparable wholeness, which has no beginning or end, no pause or disconnectedness, no separate parts. If we want to reveal the truth of being permanently, we can't do it by treating periodically. Shall I repeat that? If we want to reveal the truth of being permanently, we can't do it by treating periodically. The divine ear is always listening. We are in constant communion with spirit. The divine ear is always listening. We need to remember that, always listening. We must consciously live our treatments and choose our thoughts carefully, moment to moment, if we want to change our lives. And that was written by Stephanie Sorensen in her book, The Sacred Continuum. This journey that we're all on it really is the same. We're all on the same journey, awakening to the truth of who we are. The reason that we struggle is because we've forgotten who we are. And all we need to do is work at remembering it. And we have the capacity to do that by changing our thinking, by changing, whatever the distraction or destruction is that's going on for us. As we begin to change that thinking, we begin to move more in alignment with the essence of who we actually are. And as we live from that, we begin to feel a greater sense of possibility in life. We're less prone to feeling like a victim, less worried about what other people think or say or do. We're actually learning to be who we are. Yeah. Just be you. I do the Joy Show every Friday, and joy to me is an acronym that says just one you. And because there's just one you, living your life your way is essential to your success, your peace, your love, your harmony, all of that. And I know that sometimes doing things a bit different is, can be challenging, because that's the way we've always done it. But if we continue to do things the same way, we'll get the same result. So the key is to shift it. So I'm inviting you to live in the sacred continuum, that if you're doing treatment morning and night, and maybe somewhere in between, if some little glitch shows up, some little opportunity invites you to look at things in a new way, really look at, how do I join those two ends, morning and night? How do I create something that links them? How do I get comfortable with what is, so that I might be the change agent for something new? The journey that we're on is personal, it's productive, and it comes according to our own set of beliefs about life, but more importantly, about ourselves. So who do you think you are? Did you ever hear that phrase growing up? Who do you think you are? Well, let's change the tone. Who do you think you are? And what if you are that? What if you began to live your grandest potential? What if you took those dreams off the shelf and dusted them off and began to live them consciously? Life might show up in a whole new, spectacular, wondrous way. You see, we are the creators of our destiny, moment by moment and day by day. And if we will remind ourselves constantly to turn within, to remember the truth, to realize the source and substance of our existence, and to stand with strength, with power, with passion, with purpose, life then begins to take on a whole new vibration. All needs are met. Whatever's required shows up. See, spirit is always, always with us, never separate. So let us take a couple of minutes in meditation. I want to invite you to, sit comfortably, close your eyes if you feel that would work best for you. And take a deep breath in, exhaling slowly. One more deep breath. Exhaling slowly. And one more time, breathing in and exhaling. There is one power in the universe. There is one thing. We call it by many names, but it is only one. This universe is a vast energy system, and each and every one of us live, move, and have our being in it. So I invite you to see this big ball of light and notice yourself as twinkling lights within the brilliant one, knowing that your light adds to the whole experience, not just for you, but for everyone. And just notice the potential that you have, that you were born with. And as you see it, grasp onto it. Take a look at it closely. And with every breath you take, move closer and closer to the realization of that vision. There is only one, all-powerful, all-knowing, ever-present. I live, move, and have my being in it. And as a result, I am an individualized expression of it. I am powerful, passionate, productive. I am the I am. As are you. Taking a deep breath in. And as you exhale, slowly returning to this space and time, opening your eyes. And so it is.
We now offer you an opportunity to financially support your spiritual home. Let's begin with our abundance affirmation. May we say it together, please. As I give, so I receive. My good now flows to me in a steady, unbroken, ever-increasing stream of success, happiness, and abundance. I am blessed. Blessings abound for all life everywhere. I am grateful. As a charitable organization, we offer many ways for you to support our spiritual home. E-transfers to admin@cslonthelake.com. On our website, you can click on the donate at the website cslonthelake.com or mail a check to Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, 20 Bonnie Lynn Court, Toronto,